He betrayed me and thought I'd quietly disappear, but he forgot one thing. The house was mine. I stood in the doorway, holding the divorce papers he proudly served me just a week earlier. His new wife, yes, new, stood behind him, arms crossed, already making herself comfortable in my living room. The same couch we picked out together. The same kitchen where we used to share late-night laughs. Now, it was filled with her perfume and fake smiles. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he said coolly. "We've both moved on." He had moved on before the ink on our marriage certificate dried. She wasn't some new flame. She was the woman he'd been sneaking around with during his late meetings. But I didn't argue. I just smiled and said, "You're right. I won't make it hard." He thought I was broken, that I'd fall apart and beg to stay. What he didn't know was that while he was busy sneaking around, I had quietly secured every legal document tied to this house. The deed, the bank papers, the trust left by my grandmother, everything. The house was in my name. Every brick, every tile, every room he thought he could start a new life in belonged to me, and I had a plan. I waited. I let them paint the walls, redecorate, even throw a tacky little housewarming party with her friends sipping wine on my porch like they owned the place. She wore my old robe once. That one hit different. But I stayed calm. Then, on a quiet Tuesday morning, I went to the county office. One signature, one file transfer. That was all it took. The next day, I drove by the house and saw their SUV parked in the driveway. I parked across the street and waited. At exactly 11 a.m., the sheriff's department pulled up behind them. He walked out with a confused look, coffee in hand, wearing slippers I bought him last Christmas. Then the officer handed him the envelope. "Ma'am," he said to the new wife. "Sir, you're trespassing. You need to vacate the property immediately. This house has been sold." She stammered. "Sold? That can't be." "Oh, it can," I said, stepping out of my car. He froze. I smiled. "You never asked whose name was on the deed, did you?" "You wouldn't," he said, voice cracking. "I did," I said, handing him a copy of the sale. "The new owners close in 48 hours. You have until tonight to be gone." He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "The new wife?" She burst into tears. "You didn't tell me this wasn't yours." I turned to walk away. "You're insane," he shouted. I looked over my shoulder. "Number, I'm free." By nightfall, they were dragging suitcases out onto the lawn. The woman he left me for was cursing him out, mascara running down her cheeks. She kept screaming, "Where are we supposed to go, Eric?" I watched from the edge of the street as movers arrived, hired by the new buyers. They didn't waste time. Furniture came out fast. The couch they made out on, gone. The bed they probably shared the first night I moved out, gone too. Eric stormed up to me, fists clenched. "You did this to humiliate me." I kept my voice calm. "Number, I did this to remind you who you underestimated." "You're heartless." I almost laughed. "You left me for someone you met in your office break room, moved her into the home I paid for with my mother's inheritance, and you thought I'd just leave quietly?" He looked away. He couldn't face me. That was the difference. I never wanted revenge when this all started. I just wanted peace. But when he took everything we built and handed it to someone else like it meant nothing, that's when I realized he didn't deserve soft. So I gave him the storm. As they drove away that night in silence, everything they owned packed into a borrowed truck, I felt a weight lift off my chest. For the first time in years, I could breathe. And I had no intention of looking back. 2 months later, I stood in a quiet town 2 states away, holding the keys to a new home, one with no ghosts, no memories, and no names tied to it but mine. I'd used the money from the house sale to buy a cozy little fixer-upper by the lake. It wasn't as big or fancy, but it was mine. Every floorboard, every window, every sunrise over the water was a fresh start. I started painting again. I opened a tiny studio downtown where I taught art classes to kids. I laughed more. I sang out loud while cooking. I slept with my windows open and no fear in my chest. Eric tried calling once, left a voicemail, something about wanting to talk. I deleted it. Some people learn the hard way that love isn't a guarantee. It's a privilege. And once broken, not everyone waits around to pick up the pieces. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. If you've ever been betrayed, overlooked, or made to feel replaceable, remember this. Your silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strategy. Let them think you've walked away quietly. And when the time comes, turn the key, cash the check, and choose yourself. Share this story with someone who forgot their worth, or someone who's about to remember it.